Let me see if I've got this straight. Cities like Seattle, New York, the West Coast, Portland, Minneapolis, they're proposing things like defund the police. Okay. They have continuous rioting and runaway rampant crime happening in their cities right now, but they want to defund the police. They won't allow the president to come in and stop the violence, and yet the cities that have allowed the president in, law and order has been restored. So the president has said, fine, if you're going to allow the rioting and the looting to continue while you carry on this insane policy of defund the police, let's just go ahead and defund you. And now mayors and governors are shocked, horrified, and outraged. You can't do that. Really? Bill de Blasio, the trans-species ladyboy mayor of New York City, said to President Trump in his threat to defund the city, "Don't you dare." Oh, really? See, now, if I were the president, I would then absolutely do that. After all, it was just Governor Cuomo who had these warm sentiments and regards to share about President Trump coming to New York City.
Look, the best thing he did for New York City was leave. Good riddance. Let him go to Florida. Be careful not to get COVID. COVID ambushed New York due to Trump's negligence. He is the cause of COVID in New York. Changed his residence to go to Florida. Why? He can't come back to New York. He can't. He's going to walk down the street in New York? Forget bodyguards. He better have an army if he thinks he's going to walk down the street in New York. No, New Yorkers don't want to have anything to do with him. And he knows it.
You're kidding me, right? Governor Cuomo is going to accuse Donald Trump of bringing the plague to New York City? Let's back up the crazy train before we all go sailing off the cliff into the abyss of Cuomo's stupidity. This is a guy that, first of all, is responsible for at least the deaths of approximately 12,000 people. No, literally, he is responsible because he put COVID-positive people in nursing homes. Rather than, quote, overwhelm the hospitals, he stuck them in an incubator. He stuck them in a bubble of the elderly. Gee, aren't the elderly like the number one group of people we're supposed to be protecting from this viral pandemic? Weren't we told we were supposed to social distance, stay home, and wear masks so that we didn't kill grandma? Isn't that the insane, inane, asinine logic that we were presented with? So, what does Governor Compassion do? He takes the sickest people in his state and he places them among the most vulnerable. And what does he do for an encore? He writes a book about his own amazing leadership during a pandemic. That's code for he's getting ready to announce his run in 2024. That said, Cuomo, the killer, and I'm not just talking about during the COVID crisis, Cuomo, who signed into law the most radical abortion rights legislation in the history of the country, that in New York, you can now have an abortion right up to and during the birthing process. So apparently if a mother is in the process of giving natural birth, all of a sudden she panics, freaks out, and says to the doctor, "No, I'm not ready to be a mother. Do something." And as the baby is being born, that's authorization for termination. That's Governor Cuomo. And he's saying that President Trump killed people in New York. He's responsible for the virus being there. Hold it. Remember back in February when the president enacted a travel ban from China, where would Chinese international flights coming to America, where would they land usually? New York, Los Angeles. New York, Los Angeles. You know, there's no international flight from Beijing that's going to land in Toledo, Ohio. It's not going to land in Bismarck, North Dakota. It's going to land in a place like New York, and then from there, the people would take connecting flights throughout the nation. And while the president was enacting this travel ban against China, what were the Democrats saying? Well, that's right. Joe Biden and the rest of the Dem gang were referring to the president as xenophobic. And Nancy Botox Pelosi and a bunch of other Democrats were seen in February in New York City telling New Yorkers, it's perfectly safe, come on in, come on down, and celebrate the Chinese New Year in Chinatown in New York. Remember all that? As this pandemic was ripping through China, ripping through Italy, beginning to rip across Europe. And the president said, no, we've got to cut off travel from China. But it's funny, when the governor needed stuff from the president, ventilators, because he himself had depleted the ventilator supply. That years before, when he had been warned by his own administration, by the health officials within his administration, Mr. Governor, we don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough personal protection. He didn't care. He cut that from his budget so that he could redirect that money to some of his social re-engineering projects that he wanted to fund. What did the president do? Well, the president got the Ford Motor Company to start building at a record rate ventilators. In fact, we had more ventilators than we ever needed in this country. In fact, no one was denied, and now we are able to sell ventilators around the world. When New York City was gripped by fear that they were going to be overwhelmed in their hospitals, what did the president do? Not only did he mobilize the army to go into New York City and overnight build a hospital, but Franklin Graham's Samaritan Purse went into Central Park and set up a hospital. The president had the Navy send hospital ships to New York, all of which were laughed at and lampooned by the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media. It'll never happen. And within days of the president saying he was going to do it, it happened. Even the media was dumbfounded at, quote, how quickly this all happened. Yes, because they were used to presidents like Barack Obama. Smooth, polished, knew exactly what to say. Very ineffective at actually getting anything done, but nobody denies Barack Obama. He can give a great speech. He's a little light on results. He's even lighter on a work ethic of actually getting something done, but he knows exactly what to say. Joe Biden, well, before he had dementia, knew exactly what to say. He didn't do a whole lot, and now when he talks about all these changes he's going to bring to Washington, well, you were there for a half a century, 50 freaking years. What did you do in that time? Oh, that's right, nothing. Well, you groped interns in the hallway and stuck your hand literally up their dress and under and violated them, penetrating them with your fingers. But hey, we don't do Me Too anymore against Democratic individuals. Only Donald Trump are we concerned with. The president gets things done. To which the governor, to the shock and horror of Nancy Botox Pelosi, Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, Jerry the Nads Nadler, Adam Schiff for Brains, and the rest of the Democratic wannabe contenders to be the El Presidentes, they were shocked when Governor Cuomo came out and talked about what a great job President Trump had done in helping New York.
Kudos where
kudos are due. And here, the Vice President and the President responded very quickly. So I want to thank them for that.
He has been good in delivering for New York.
He has.
He has delivered for New York.
He is ready, willing, and able to help. Do I have faith in the President? Look, what the federal government did, working with states, as I just said, was a phenomenal accomplishment. The federal government stepped up and was a great partner, and I'm the first one to say it.
Well, which is it, Gov? Is it so bad that he couldn't even walk safely down the streets of your city? Isn't that an indictment on you and the boy toy Bill de Blasio? That your leadership has been so ineffective, you can't maintain law and order in your own city, in your own state? That's on the president? No, that's on you, pal. That's on you guys and your no bail and let everybody out of jail and just allowing criminals to run rampant on the street, and you're not going to break up peaceful protests as they burn down the cities. You know, watching CNN report on this, where a city is emblazed behind them and the crawl literally says, fiery but mostly peaceful protest. What? That would be like reporting on the Titanic. Well, it was mostly a safe voyage. The Hindenburg, it traveled safely across the Atlantic till it got to New Jersey. You know, only Democrats, liberal Democrats, libloons, and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media can be this absolutely illogically stupid and lie to our faces and do it with a completely straight face like, what? You really think that because you're seeing people thrown to the ground and beaten to death behind me that this isn't peaceful protesting? By the way, you want to know what happened to all those brats who never got a spanking, but they got timeouts? All those little brats that used to throw temper tantrums in store aisles and would throw themselves on the floor of the store if they didn't get what they wanted and would kick their feet. And you know what they're doing now? They're laying across intersections so fire trucks can't get through to put fires out that they just started. Moving on. When Governor Cuomo talks about, yeah, we're glad Trump left New York. Have you not noticed everybody's leaving New York? Have you not noticed that most celebrities do not want to live in New York? Have you not noticed that the reason people cannot leave California right now, though they desperately want to go somewhere where there's some semblance and resemblance of freedom, do you not understand that the reason they can't leave California right now is all the Penske and U-Haul trucks are taken up on the East Coast in New York City, getting people out of there? Do you not understand that the exits out of that city are overwhelmed? Hey, the entrances are wide open. There has never been an easier time to get in New York. Getting out is the trick. In fact, John Carpenter is considering just taking his cameras there now and letting them roll so that he can do the remake of Escape from New York. So when the governor lectures, and by the way, threatens, don't come here, it's not safe for you. Really? Really? Mr. President, defund these cities. Defund them now. This whole nightmare, Biden can try to spin it. The media can try to spin it. This is not the president's problem. This is squarely at the feet of Democrats. They want to defund and disband the police. They don't want the president's help. They don't want the National Guard. By the way, all of these mayors, they have private security details. Why Mayor Lightweight of Chicago has decreed that the street she lives on is off limits to protesters. Really? Oh, so they can protest in front of your house and threaten your family and destroy your stuff, but you can't do it in her neighborhood, in front of her house, or to her stuff. The mayor of Seattle has left the city. He no longer resides in the city. And these mayors are saying, well, right now there's hostility. And of course, they want to try to infer that somehow these are Trump people doing this. Yeah, no, nay. This is squarely on the Democrats. They have fostered this. They have wanted this. They protected Chaz or Chop, depending on which term you want to call it there in Seattle. They have tolerated the black-on-black crime for decades in Chicago. Apparently those black lives don't matter. And they were hoping to be able to somehow connect all of that to Donald Trump during an election. This happened on his watch. The American people, they're on to this one. They get it. And you Democrats, this is on you.
First, I want to assure the president that Seattle is fine.
We have dozens, if not hundreds, of federal troops descending upon our city. It's not helping the situation at all. They're not wanted here.
Mr. President, bring those kind of troops to our city and try to take off. That's not going to happen in Chicago.
We're going to fight with everything that we have. Donald Trump and his minions are the architects of chaos in this country.
So, now that the average American really does get it, Black America is woke. And I don't mean woke like the liberals mean woke. Black America has awakened to the realization they have been lied to and they have been duped by the most racist individuals on the planet. Liberals. Let me explain. Remember, it was the Democratic Party, the Southern Democratic Party, that actually created the Ku Klux Klan. Remember, it was the Democrats where there wasn't enough votes to get the Civil Rights Act through. And President Johnson, Democrat, had to go to the Republicans in Congress to pass the Civil Rights Act. Bum, ba-dum, bum. It's the liberal Democrats that decided, you know what, through Planned Parenthood, founded by Margaret Sanger, a eugenic Darwinist who believed that the black race was an inferior race because they were not as evolved or developed as they should be through the evolutionary process, which, by the way, I've told you evolution is completely a racist ideology. And so the termination of inferior races was the goal of Planned Parenthood, and it's Democratic politicians that have purposely wanted Planned Parenthood funded, and 85% of them located in minority neighborhoods. Are you starting to put all this together? Some of you guilty of your white privilege, liberals. See, because the thing is, Black America's waking up to this. They're getting it now. They're looking at their cities, which are cesspools and crime-ridden. And what is it the Democrats keep telling them? You just stay where we put you. We'll keep giving you money. We'll give you health care. We'll give you some free stuff. Oh, and by the way, now we don't want you to leave us, because if you leave us and go to Trump, it's all over for us. So now we're going to pay you to stay with us, because now you have California. They're actually voting on reparations. We have to do reparations. Really? Really? What exactly is reparations going to do?
I think every black person should at least get $100,000.
$100,000? What do you think that's gonna do? That ain't gonna do nothing but make Cadillac #1 dealership in the country.
See, again, this is what happens when people don't know history. Hey, California, you do know that you were never a slave state, right? Did that ever dawn on you? That your state was a safe place where runaway slaves could go to and they would be okay? But now you're going to pay reparations. And this isn't about, quote, doing the right thing. It's about your rampant racism. White liberal racism. Because what you're really saying is black people are too stupid too lower life form, not evolved enough, you're lower, you're lesser, you don't know what to do, so we will do it for you. And Black America realizes that. They are now rejecting that. They are insulted, as well they should be.
I'm talking about isms. We don't need reparations, all right? We need restraint. Restraint? Restraint.
So go ahead. Go ahead, Governor Cuomo. Go ahead, Mayor de Blasio. Go ahead, Mayor Lightweight Lightfoot. Go ahead, Seattle. Go ahead. Keep allowing the lawlessness to spread in your streets. You know who it is disproportionately affecting? Minorities. You know, a lot of those businesses were minority owned. They were. A lot of those businesses provided unemployment for the minority citizens of your communities. And as you foster this and fuel this, you're hurting the minorities, but you don't care. As long as you can trick them into believing that somehow it's Trump's fault so that they keep their mouths shut, vote Democrat, and stay on the plantation, i.e. inner city, i.e. the ghetto where you have stuck them. How's that for a little truth on a Thursday afternoon? Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a great big like. I would appreciate that so much. Spread this video to your social media platforms. Leave a comment below. I do read them and I do respond to some of them. And make sure you have smacked the bell and click the word all to get notification of my next rant.